Like, I say it all the time, that we should be comfortable with being vulnerable. And I think I lost that for a second. I kind of was like this a little bit, like, okay, what do I, how do I move?
How'd you feel when you finished that take?
Oh my goodness. It was the first take.
Why am I not surprised? Sometimes you got to put yourself in a place where there's just zero analysis, right?
Exactly.
And zero pressure. And when you do one, you think, well, I can do 1,000. Mm-hmm. So it just takes the edge off it.
Yeah,
Is that how it is?
I think so. I feel like with that, it was such an emotional experience for me.
Yeah.
So it just happened. It wasn't anything I had to all right, let me try to get this note. I wasn't even planning on singing that high. I never sang that high on a record before.
Wow,
actually.
so that really was, you were caught up in it and you just decided to go for it. So
Yeah.
in that microscopic detail right there of time, because like you say, you haven't got the notes written out in front of you, there's no rehearsal going on here.
Yeah.
You got to make a snap decision in that moment that I'm going to go for it.
Yeah.
Can you describe that feeling or is it too difficult to put into words?
I can't really put it into words. The setup of the whole song, like how everything kind of happened, I really believe it was from God because it's crazy. Like I had been through such a tough time in 2022. Like it was a really difficult year, an amazing year. I did so much stuff.
Yeah, you were busy.
But it was a personal growth.
A lot of change.
Year. A lot of change. A lot of personal change, career change, all kinds of change.
Yeah.
And it was very, very hard for me. I was so unsure. I'd never been so unsure. And it was a great time. I feel like I'm 18 again. Like I feel like where I was when I made Volume 1. Discovery mode, which is great.
But with more tools.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the next step. It's a very pivotal time in my life. So I actually was speaking to Diane Warren about working together. And I worked with her when I was 14.
What?
Yeah,
I
years
didn't know
ago.
that.
Yeah, very, very briefly. I ended up in the studio with her. Someone
Wow.
introduced me to her. And she kept up with me since then. And
Yeah.
then I called her. I was like, would love to work with you. And this was like in the fall. And then we made it happen and got in the studio. And she was like, I've been working on this song. And she played me the chords for this song. And immediately I was like, oh my gosh. Like, how did you know this is like the time? She's like, I didn't. I don't know. I just feel like this song is meant for you. And I put my thing on it and I produced it out and turned into this moment. But yeah, I think it's sent from God.
Oh, there's so much to dive into there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna touch on the thing that we've never really spoken about, which is when you first came out. It was really important. I think it felt to me as a fan of your music out the gate that whatever had occurred before was not where you stood in that moment. It was like, this is me now. When I'm not going to go down that road. I'm only going to go forward.
Yeah.
And we all respected that because the music was so compelling. It was amazing.
Thank you.
It's the first time I've ever heard you refer to an experience you had pre-H.E.R.
Yeah.
It's the first time we've ever even gone there.
Yeah.
In relation to Diane Warren, but my question is are you starting to feel more comfortable acknowledging your journey to the point of becoming H.E.R.?
Absolutely. I think it was the beginning of H.E.R. when I started to, I say it all the time, that we should be comfortable with being vulnerable. And I think I lost that for a second.
Yeah.
And I think it was the expectations of people around me. And I kind of fell into that, okay, the success is here. You have to maintain that. You have to protect it. You have to do what you did before, but better this time. And it's you can't do that. And it's we try to formulate and box artistry and try to turn it into something. And it just has to be what it is. And I think I kind of was this a little bit, okay, what do I, how do I move? And I started to kind of be in my head a lot. And I finally let go again. It's crazy, right? You
And you will again and again and
again
and again.
You don't care in the beginning, you just do, and then you work and then suddenly you have to think about what you do, and then it ruins it.
Well, also accolades are, even though obviously they're constructs, our species created these items of value and we share them with others to make ourselves ultimately feel better too.
Right.
You're the best. It makes me feel good to say that, right? So it's a strange trade that we have, even though it's the truth.
Yeah.
But we ignore the fact that every time we heap one on you, it gets heavier.
Yeah,
It's
does.
physical.
It does. It does get really heavy. But, it's like a gold star, and you just have to remember, like, okay, the recognition is nice, but it's not why I'm here, and it's not why I do what I do, and it doesn't define what I do. It doesn't make me a better or worse creative.
And it doesn't stop life from throwing change at you and making things tough too.
Exactly.
Right? It's not like, I'm her. I can navigate all of this with ease. It's like, nah.
No.
So, okay. This is one of those moments where I'm going to leave it up to you to go as far as you want. But I am interested to know kind of what parts of 2022 inspired this song and what you're willing to talk about.
So I was extremely busy. I did 2 tours and a movie.
Yeah.
And there was so much, of course, like award show season and all this great stuff. And it was so much fun, all those moments. But I really had a moment of like, wait. What am I doing? And who am I doing this for?
Yeah.
And why am I doing this? My whys are changing. It's crazy, like obviously you're not the same person you are at 15, 18, 21, now 25. And I really started to question everything around me. And I think I was an autopilot for a really long time. So 2022, through the busyness, like I still was like, what am I doing? So, I was on tour with Coldplay, which totally like changed my whole perspective in music and life. Like 60 to 80,000 people a night. It was
and just
insane.
how they carry themselves through it.
Man, it was insane and so much fun. And I just was like, oh my gosh, like the power that you feel in a stadium. It's not an arena. It's not a theater. It's a stadium. That like changed my whole thing, and I felt like I was exactly where I wanted to be, but just having those big stage moments and then kind of going back to the hotel and being a little isolated, I really had to sit with myself and all of these things that I might have suppressed and ignored. I think everybody kind of dealt with this because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
You finally start to acknowledge what has been there beneath the surface.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes out and you're like, wait, am I really happy? Yeah. Do I like the person I'm becoming? Do I like the people around me? And what is my intention? And I had those moments and I wasn't sure. how to answer those questions,
That's
and
tough knowledge to sit with.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have the answers immediately, but you've unlocked the truth.
Yeah.
And it simmers, that's tough.
Yeah.
Because only you can live with that until you have the courage and the decisiveness to make decisions.
Exactly.
How long were you sort of in that space of letting it, just brood for you?
Man, I don't even know. I think there were so many things I knew, but I kind of like excused, or I kind of like, oh well, it's supposed to be this way, And I
procrastinated on it.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people kind of made me feel as people do in this industry for some reason. They kind of make the artist feel a little powerless, and a little bit like their voice doesn't matter, and that's crazy.
No, they make you feel crazy.
Yeah.
They make you feel crazy.
Exactly.
I can say it. There's a sense of like, you're the artist in this equation.
Right.
So what do you truly know? You just focus on the music, focus on the creative, let everything else happen.
Let everybody else deal with
facts.
it. And it's like, wait a minute. I know a little bit.
Yeah, and I've learned a lot more.
Yeah, exactly. So, I just realized how much I was allowing, things around me to be weaponized, and I didn't want that anymore. So I really had to remember who I am and that I am worthy, and that I'm enough, and that I just had to remind myself that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm here.
Yeah, I can tell.
But it was a crazy year of having to go through all of those questions and all of that doubt, so I could stand strong today, and know like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. This is who I am now in this time, and I'm so thankful that I went through all of that, because I grew so much because of it. But in the middle of being on tour and movies and all of these things, it's such a blessing to be here now.
Well, it's a lot of distractions that we create for ourselves, and a lot of them are very good ones. Some of them are super self-destructive and not good, but some of them are really good, like work. We consider that ambition, opportunity. We're like, why would I say no to this? And it's like, okay, you can say yes to it, but understand, make sure you're not avoiding something in the process, right? That's the trick.
Exactly. And I think, I'm a very emotional person. I always have been, and that's why I create, and it's such an outlet for me. Studio has been like therapy for me lately, so I'm excited for you to hear everything.
Can't wait.
But it's good to be in your feelings and then get up and be a G about it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's been my
It's
whole.
so interesting. Like it doesn't surprise me hearing your music that you now can say to everybody that a self-described emotional human being. I feel things deeply.
Yeah.
Yet I think when you first came out, and I hope you take this the right way, there was a sense of like I'm in charge, I'm in control.
Yeah.
Things are going to be fine. I'm moving the parts around.
Yeah.
So as you're kind of like opening up and I'm hearing all these new observations, which are wicked for me and everybody else, like it's awesome to hear you acknowledge that you feel things, that you do feel the emotion of life in a deep, deep way.
Absolutely. I think I'm constantly trying, or I was constantly trying to control or figure out, and that was just overcompensation. And now I'm like, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like it's just overcompensation when everything is out of control. You're like, what can I control? And let me be perfect, and it's like, it's not real life. So, what's bad for the heart is good for the art. Like that's been my whole, it's been my whole thing lately. But I think in the beginning for sure, I was like surrendering to a lot of what I felt and still trying to grab onto what I could and not letting people in. And now I'm like, you know what? Here I am.
Yeah, welcome back. It's so good. It's so good. The music is incredible.
Thank you.
It's called The Journey. One time I was working in a secondhand record store in the basement, 15-second story, and I was selling a lot of really cheap stuff to people, and there was no windows in there, and I was broke, and I just moved to London. It was a really tough time in my life, but it was also really exciting, and I didn't know what I was going to do next. And this really eccentric old man from Europe came up to me, and he never uttered 2 words to me before, but he was a regular, and he looked at me. He didn't know who I was or where I was from, and he said to me, "Remember New Zealand, it's the journey that matters, not the arrival." And then he left.
What?
Somehow he knew I was from New Zealand, even though we'd never spoken to each other. And that's what he said to me. It's the journey that matters, not the arrival. We had not had a discourse.
Wow.
He obviously just looked at me and decided that that's what he was going to say from somewhere inside his experience. He shared that. I've never forgotten it. So the concept of the journey is a deep one for me.
Wow, that's crazy.
Isn't that a crazy story?
That's awesome. Don't you love those moments?
I love those moments.
Yeah.
Because what it makes me realize is I don't know anywhere near as much as I think I know.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right? I'm completely and utterly out of my depth like everybody else. And isn't that kind of the point of the journey?
Yes.
To push forward, but ultimately realize that we have to relinquish control in order to eventually arrive anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where did the lyrics come from for you?
When I heard a lot of the things being said, I was like, oh, wow. I mean, it's so simple, but saying things like every step you take is like one more step along the way.
Yeah.
Like I had to also realize and not be resentful of my journey, because that's easy to do. You look back and you feel bitter, you feel upset, you feel angry. And it's like, no, all of those things are supposed to happen, and they all contribute to the bigger picture. Everybody in your life is there for a reason at that time, to get you from point A to point B. And it's all about that process and enjoying the process, and you have a lot more fun, and you don't take yourself so seriously, and you don't take things personal when you can just enjoy the journey and enjoy the process and know, like, you know what, I'm just going to be in the moment.
That's the trick. That's life's biggest trick, is trying to stay as present as possible.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in relation to the performance of this song. I mean, you're in a situation where you're collaborating with Diane Warren. Every song that Diane Warren decides to share, or idea or lyrical idea or melody or chord, is by design trying to reach as many people as possible.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
All killer, no filler for Diane Warren.
Yes, that's right.
And so, when you go into the experience, like you say, producing it up because you're a producer, wanting to live up to that ambition.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you? Did it level you up, your skills, and push you?
100%. But the thing about this song is so crazy. Someone said this to me. They were like, listening to the song, they're like, wait, this is actually really you. Like, this is kind of where I started, because I'm big on live music, that's who I am. But with this, like, I just wanted to get out of the way of the song. Like, whatever is there, like, let's just get out of the way. Like, don't try to, it is what it is. Like, let that shine.
Serve
the lyrics,
the altar
vocal.
of it. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, my thing was just creating the story and the dynamic. And I worked with my band, and I was kind of like, all right, we need this feel here. This bass should do this line, give it a little bit of flavor. We don't want to. Yeah. So we were listening to Bryan Adams. We were listening to Whitney. We were listening to all my favorites. Journey,
the
like
songs
the band.
that go to number 1 for 30 weeks. every one of those,
Right.
like every one of those songs was number one in New Zealand for like years. Like seriously.
But I mean, the thing about it is like it's so simple. You
Right.
know, when you take away all the bells and whistles in music, which we love, you know, and you just sit down at a piano and it's just a song. It's something that's for everyone.
But it's not though, because look at this. Look, I mean, I'm going to take this out and show you what this looks like. So this is a graph of the song
Oh,
in,
wow.
wave,
Oh,
in a waveform.
It's like
It
this.
starts there,
Yes.
and it has to get to there, then it has to go down to there,
Yes.
and then it has to get back up to there.
There you go, you see?
Now that is not how people make music mainly today. It either goes all the way there,
Yeah.
or it drops off a cliff,
Yeah.
and then jumps up a bungee, right?
But that's the journey.
That's the journey. But you know, just purely on a production and arrangement level, just to give you, like, to gas you,
Yeah,
how hard it is to make that graph.
Oh my God.
Because to get there in a gradual environment, it requires an understanding of dynamic and of emotional dynamic.
Yeah,
It goes
I'm big on
beyond
that.
volume.
I'm big on that. And it's what I love. It's what I love, and it's part of the experience that I had in a stadium. You know, I was so inspired by that, and like I said, just getting out of the way of the song and, you know, turning a simple song into that. You're telling the story in the music as well as the lyrics.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that was the goal. And like one of my favorite things about the song is the string arrangements. And it was like something I do live that I've never done on records is sing all the string parts. So I went in and sang each individual part. And then I was like, oh, this sounds really good. I listened to it, just my vocal and just my vocal strings. And then we brought the strings in, and it just blew my mind.
Did you
I
get
was like,
emotional?
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
It's
everybody
so
does. Every artist who
beautiful.
hears the strings bring their vision to life says it's like one of the most emotional experiences.
It was insane.
Yeah.
It was insane. So yeah, that's like my favorite thing about the song. And you even hear how the strings get more intense as the song goes
Yeah,
on.
my favorite thing about the song is you.
Thank you.
Is the performance, is the fact that you're able to live up to the expectation of a very simple human observation, which is, you know, the journey we're all on. You know, it's really hard to put that into performance and to pull it off. Has it changed
you.
the way that you feel about writing and communicating through your music? Every experience informs the next. Knowing you can hit that note, knowing you can create that wave, knowing that you can direct your band and do the strings and do all the things which you knew you could do, but to hear it come to life in a song which is worthy of any on Diane Warren's songbook,
Yeah.
does it change the way you think about yourself?
Oh, you know, I think it gave me a little bit more permission to just bridge the gap between like what you hear on like a H.E.R. record
Sure.
versus what you see live, you know, and kind of bringing those two together. But it's not so much of a departure. I'm not really saying like, now that I've done this, I want to make an album full of ballads.
Yeah,
Like
got
I'm
it.
more so like, I'm happy that I can do this and I'm giving myself permission to do this.
And I can come back.
And I can always go back, and I'm just gonna keep creating
Yeah.
whatever the hell I feel, and that's what you're gonna get.
Yeah, but that could be anything.
yeah, it
with
could
you.
be anything. It could be anything. So
I mean,
yeah.
I've heard it all. I've heard deep Jam and Lewis flight time shit. I've heard reggae and dance hall. I've heard, you know, Bill Withers-esque type funk folk. I've heard this, all you. But I've heard you move in these spaces with an authenticity which very few can.
Thank you.
So how do you know what you want to do at any given time when all the palettes work?
That's the challenge.
Right.
That's the challenge.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's the challenge, but it's also really fun because I think I might just have to create a new name and a new band and just release different projects under different things. Like, who knows what I want to do next.
But isn't her everything?
It is. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, it's like when I guess I'm giving it to you from the perspective of a fan, at least for me, when I listen to your music or I'm about to hear something new, I like that I don't know where you stand
Right.
at that moment in time when you're making that.
Yeah.
It's like to me, it's part of the experience of what you're building. And Prince never did.
That's true.
He went everywhere.
That's true.
You know?
And I love Prince.
Same.
But good music is good music.
The song is called The Journey. It's been really amazing diving into that experience and how the song came to exist. I don't know at this point how much you want to talk about where we go from here, because you've been working, you've been creating, you've been writing. I'm certainly not mining for details or headlines, but I'd love to be able, but I don't want to let you go yet. So, what can we talk about in relation to what comes next? And I'll let you lead the charge.
One thing that I really am excited about is the amazing women that are killing the game, like the collaborations that people haven't heard and that are happening. And I don't want to give away any details, but I will say like soon come, like really dope female collaborations.
That's incredible. And so let's talk about that for a second because, I know you're a collaborative human. I've seen you on stage at award shows, on records. You've done some incredibly meaningful things with other artists, but I haven't really felt like you've unlocked a collaborative era. I feel like you pick and choose as you go along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you saying that you're more open now than you've ever been before toward kind of like sharing your identity with others?
Absolutely. And what's crazy is I think that's just me in life. I think I was on an island for a while and I just was on an island.
Yeah.
And now that I'm outside. No, we're outside. We're just like I'm allowing people to come into my world a little bit. I'm a lot more open just personally. So I'm excited for the conversations and the relationships that have been coming out of that. And I think it will show in the music.
Will we get an album this year? Is that too bold to ask?
It's a little bold. Honestly,
we know each other though.
Yeah,
come on.
You gonna get it when you get it.
All right.
I'm in the studio, and this is the thing: is like I've been forced to pay attention to these deadlines and all these. I don't care about this stuff anymore. Like I just want to make music, and when I feel like it's ready, it's gonna be ready, and you'll get it.
Yeah. So, what did you learn from Coldplay? Being on tour with them.
Oh my gosh, they're really, really nice guys. But just the experience that they create with their show and how much fun that they have on stage, I'm like, I want to create that, like even more so. Like the way that they just bring the audience into their show and how they can make a huge stadium feel so intimate. Yeah. It was so inspiring to me.
They give so much.
Yeah.
A lot of times you go to a stadium show and you feel like you're really there to serve the performer.
Yeah, exactly.
But I feel like they go the other way.
Absolutely, which is a hard thing to do.
It's really challenging, but they've got bangers, man.
Yeah.
So many bangers.
It's crazy.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, they had so they have a catwalk, right? And there's like a mark to where I can go because they don't want to give away like the second stage, by the time they go out.
Yeah.
And every night I would just go further and further past that little tape that they set out for me on the catwalk. I was like, I'm taking advantage of this whole space.
This pass gets me there and I'm going to use it. It's so funny when we get with the one laminate, right? It's like, where does this go? Where can I go? And by the end of it, you're basically behind Will's drum kit.
Exactly. So on stage, I was taking that whole stage. We were going left and right all the way out, and it was like so much fun. So,
how are you as a human? How's lifestyle? How's balance?
Ooh, balance is very tough, but it's good. I'm kind of in a selfish phase right now, and I really like that. Just like being like okay with being alone a lot, and that's like really a healthy place to be, I think. Yeah. People take it a little personally sometimes, but you got to let them. And that's kind of like how I've been feeling.
The real ones get it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even the real ones sometimes have their moments because, change and growth. But
so the one text becomes 5 texts, becomes 10 texts, becomes the opening of Star Wars. Is that what it is?
Sometimes it can be that way.
It's you always know because there's someone in your friendship group. I always feel I've got this one person who's the most patient with me out of anybody, right?
That's good.
Everyone has a hierarchy of patience levels.
That's true.
And if I get a text from that person going, so ... then I know, all right, you really need to get out of your own head and get back into the game.
The world.
Selfish is good though.
Yeah, selfish is good. But I think it's been good for music and just discovery mode, just like giving myself a second here and there, which is good because I give a lot all the time and I did last year, just like putting it all on stage and I've been like giving it back to myself a little bit, which has been really nice. But balance is always hard because like I want to work, I want to do the things, I don't want to say no, but I'm a lot better with that now.
Yeah, are you in an era of no? Do you feel good about that word?
Yeah, I feel better about it. I think it's easy to like for me, sometimes it's easy to like overcompensate and just like be like, okay, no, I can't do anything, or I have to like, and it's good to just be like, how do I feel about this? Do I really want to do this?
It's intention, right?
Yeah, being very intentional.
Getting back to that idea of The whys.
Yeah, exactly. And my whys are changing.
Your whys are changing.
So it's great.
You know what? I mean, I have so much I want to ask you, but I've learned over time as we're getting to know each other one conversation at a time.
Yeah.
That you always give us your time when you're ready. So I respect your time.
No, thank you so much.
And it's good to see you. And this song is more than enough right now. The song is like one of those moments that very few artists can release in 2023. But you found a space to do it. So thanks for gifting us it.
Thank
And
you.
thanks for a few minutes as always.
Thank you for listening.